So one of the major promises of AI is allowing agencies to scale without having to add headcount. We talk about time saving, we talk about process streamlining. If that rings true, which it does, then the ability to add client workload without adding headcount should come along with that. Walk us through how that looks with Plansight, and even more specifically, can you give us a few examples of agencies that have wrapped their arms around how this process streamlining looks and that have scaled without adding major headcount
Yeah, actually,
increases?
a client comes to my mind, but let me back up a little bit to this claim that AI can allow you to grow without adding headcount. There is absolutely truth to that, but you've got to understand that AI is the headcount, right? I love human capital and running shoulders with, but sometimes we get sick. Even myself, we get sick. I need to go on vacation, and there's big projects and deadlines due. And the thing is, AI never needs to take a break. It's going to work constantly for you, right? But the reality is AI is a human capital enabler. It's not necessarily a human capital replacer. But what it absolutely does make possible is for you to be able to grow your book of business without having to equally grow your headcount to manage that book of business.
Mhm.
And yeah, we have seen that with our customers. One that comes to mind, they grew their book of business by almost 100% and didn't add one single headcount. Now that's really impressive,
Mhm.
but they really embrace the entire workflow application of Plansight, not just the AI side. So the AI was not just a full claim to that. It was the entire renewal to end output.
Mhm.
Now, AI itself absolutely automated from the time they started a renewal. It automated creating the presentation. It automated starting the creation of the RFP, even though there's may not be a marketing event. It already started it in case there is, so they can just click go. Automatically, when renewals came in and when quotes come in from alternative, if you did the marketing event, when alternative quotes come in, it automatically those and put them up in a pending state for them to QA and review. And it did all of that without fumbling around with PDFs in a folder system and bringing that back into another system and opening up in spreadsheet. Like it's just all done. So when you go to the client, your employer group that you're working on, and you open up the presentation, you already see your current in there. You already see your renewal in there. You already see the alternate quotes in there, and you're just QAing it.
Mhm.
Now, if you think about that and not fumbling around with all these emails and document movements, that's a substantial amount of time savings. So that team member can either do two things, maybe, well, a lot of things, I guess. They can have more quality time with their family, especially
Mhm.
in the crunch busy season. And maybe sometimes that's the win so that
Yeah.
you're burning out team members less and you're retaining higher retention rate with the team members you do have. Or they can take on more clients and work the same amount of hours. Or they can allocate more of their time strategically on a client
Mhm.
and try to expand the broad of business that you have with that client to make the retention higher and even increase the revenue by getting higher enrollment with the employees, doing more education or expanding products, right? So there's a couple different things that you can do with the use of AI, but it absolutely streamlines. And many of you guys have probably tested it to some extent. You've either been pleased or displeased with it. In most instances, you've probably been displeased because you're working with AI that's not necessarily been purposely built around handling the benefits ecosystem, which is somewhat complex,
Mhm.
especially when we're dealing with all these different products and classes and networks. Like it's challenging. But if you're working with a purpose built solution, to see that weight be removed pretty quickly. Like it's pretty fast that you start recognizing the benefits that it can offer your team.
Yeah, that's great. Um, Same client, having that conversation with them of how were you able to grow 100% with the same headcount. Um, there,
Now that was a combination of adding new clients and a
yeah,
combination of expanding revenue, right?
yes, yep,
So it helped them do both. It wasn't 100% new logos add. It was 100% revenue increase without adding any additional headcount,
yep,
which now think about what that did to EBITDA
yep,
and gross margin. It
yep.
just skyrocketed up, right? But I do want to make sure that we understand that it wasn't just new logo growth because that's all about sales and market
Yep.
capacity that's out there.
Yeah. So in addition to what you just mentioned, that client shared with us that they, in the time that they grew that book of business by over 100% or with
Close to
close to
100%.
100% with the same headcount, the person we were talking to, their head account manager, is a single mom.
Hmm.
She's not the account manager that in crunch time can go 15-hour days,
Yep.
right? That's so she specifically told me when I'm doing this, I can kick off almost all of my RFPs and marketing events immediately.
Yeah, she
And
gets all of her clients taken care of and just gets it done.
yep,
And now she's waiting for that information to come back into software. Our
yeah.
software shows her if carriers are looking at it, not looking at it, if they download it, if they didn't download it. So when she comes back in, she can quickly know who to follow up with if she needs to. But yeah, it gave her a lot more freedom.
And she said she had a checklist of she was personally managing 178 groups for that year.
One
One
team
person.
member managing almost
Yep.
200 employer groups.
She said she had a checklist and she was just checking them off when they came in. And she said some days she'd check off 10 to 15 because she kicked them all off at the same
Hmm.
time. And that's when they'd get all the data that they needed back. And she was able to still have this
Good quality of
semblance
life.
of quality of life
Yeah.
during Q4.
Yeah, I think that's what's really important. Not only can they take on more headcount, but you're giving them more breath, right? These
Mhm.
guys have a better quality, and this is a tough gig, especially last year.
Mm.
I mean, last year you're going back to most of your clients, telling them that they've got this 18, 20, sometimes one with a 30 something percent increase
Mhm.
on their medical renewal, and that's challenging in itself. So when you're delivering that news at the same time that you're doing all this manual work, it can be taxing
Yep.
and it can be hard for your team members. So embracing technology to lighten their burden is absolutely a win for the organization.